Taiwan. I'm Jeremy Olivier with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. U.S. President Donald Trump's sweeping global tariffs have come into effect. With a 20% levy on most Taiwanese goods entering the U.S., businesses here, from autos to agriculture, are finding themselves in a bind. Leslie Liao has more.
The world is officially in a new age of trade. U.S. President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs on dozens of countries took effect on Wednesday. Taiwan was hit with a 20% tariff on most of its goods. That import tax will have consequences on local businesses. The cabinet says it expects at least 42,000 people to either face pay cuts or lose their jobs because of the tariffs. While Taiwan's tariff rate is less than the 32% first announced back in April, it still got higher than other countries in the region, like South Korea and Japan, which got 15%. Auto car parts makers are worried because the tariffs might lead clients to seek out alternatives.
他会尝试找人来替代，那个就很严重了。他的一个认证就要好几年，他不可能去买别的东西啊，所以当他找到别的的时候，你未来20年都不要玩了。
Taiwan's farmers are also bracing for a hit to business. Orchids, one of Taiwan's major agricultural exports, will be tariffed. This farmer says that the new import duties will eat into his already thin profit margins.
利润啊，咱拢掠5%至10%俩，你扣一个20%，所有的利润就拢全部叫降去啊。所以说我们现在当然说我们针对这个关税的部分，我们跟美国客户之间要去做协调。
In response to the tariff's official start, Taiwan's cabinet has set aside roughly $3 billion in tariff relief and subsidies for affected businesses. But if these tariffs are here to stay, a long-term strategy is needed.
短期内我们希望能够协助大家应急，但是长期来讲，我们希望大家变得健康，那我们也有分平这个方面。
Taiwan's government says to help businesses achieve economic longevity, it will encourage AI integration and work to increase domestic demand. There are already plans in the works to help turn these tariff fortunes around. Hank Xu and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Donald Trump has called for the CEO of American chip firm Intel to resign over his ties to China. In a social media post, Trump accused Lip Bhutan of being, quote, highly conflicted, and said the only solution was for him to leave his role immediately. It comes one day after Republican Senator Tom Cotton sent a letter to Intel questioning Tan's connections to Chinese tech firms. Intel has issued a statement saying the company and Tan are committed to advancing U.S. national and economic security interests. Taiwan is investigating 16 Chinese companies suspected of illegally poaching talent from the country's semiconductor and other high-tech industries. Several Chinese tech firms are named in the probe, including NVIDIA supplier Victory Giant Technology and Apple supplier Goertek. Investigators say these firms allegedly used shell companies or other covert methods to operate illegally in Taiwan, and that they recruited local tech engineers. Authorities say they've uncovered more than 100 such cases since 2020. For more on the ongoing investigation and what it means for Taiwan's chip industry, Izzy Wells spoke with Jiang Minyan. He's the Deputy Director for Economic Security at the Research Institute for Democracy, Society, and Emerging Technology.
Taiwanese law prohibits Chinese investment in some parts of the semiconductor supply chain, but how did these firms manage to get around the rules?
We have the procedure like an investment review system. So all the foreign companies, including Chinese company, they have to get through this procedure to submit the application to our Ministry of Economic Affairs, MOEA. In some examples, we can see that Chinese entities, they work with the individual in Taiwan or even the individual foreigners in Taiwan to set up the companies. So from the Taiwan side, the government, they receive the applications like as a Taiwanese nationals or the other foreigner entities and other kind of identities, but not Chinese. So they could not at the first moment to identify whether this new setup or new startup have affiliations with any Chinese entities, especially with Chinese semiconductor companies.
And how serious is the threat of operations like this to Taiwan's chip industry?
We do have very rich, very technology incentive chip industry in Taiwan. And we all know that TSMC is leading in the world, especially in the chip manufacturing technology. So there would be talent, technology, and so many industrial know-hows contained within this ecosystem. These are all the key informations or the key assets that Chinese chip manufacturer or chip companies they would like to acquire. The most important thing is they want to get more secret how Taiwan can be successful and how Taiwan can keep doing innovations in this ecosystem. And they want to get as much as they can. And this kind of business operations, illegal business operation in Taiwan could facilitate the Chinese entity to acquire more information and know-how from here.
Some of these Chinese firms supply US tech giants like NVIDIA. Do these cases put Taiwan in a tough spot between the US and China?
Of course, yeah. I want to emphasize this kind of situation is not decided by Taiwanese supply chain itself, but somehow decided by the US customer. Like in the recent case, the NVIDIA, they may designate certain suppliers across Taiwan and China. And somehow it is not decided by the Taiwanese supplier themselves, but because the NVIDIA think it is the best solution for them. So they may ask the Taiwanese supplier to work with some Chinese supplier. Or maybe it is not it is not transparent enough. So they may not have enough information to identify whether there was some economic risk behind it. But now they should do more. They should understand their supply chain more and to get rid of some potential economic security risk.
That was Jiang Minyan from the Research Institute for Democracy, Society, and Emerging Technology. Taiwan is seeing a surge in Chinese military activity around the country. The Defense Ministry says it detected 57 Chinese military aircraft, 6 naval vessels, and 4 official ships operating near Taiwan in the 24 hours up to Friday morning. It was the highest number of aircraft incursions in almost a year. 38 of those aircraft entered Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. Now, this area isn't Taiwan's airspace, but acts as a buffer zone for defensive purposes. It comes after China and Russia conducted a joint naval drill in the Sea of Japan, also known as the East Sea. The Defense Ministry says it has monitored the situation and responded. 2 Taiwanese nationals have been given suspended sentences for filming U.S. military aircraft and facilities in South Korea. A South Korean court found the 2 men guilty of violating the country's laws around military bases. It sentenced each to 18 months in prison, suspended for 3 years. The judge said the nature of the crime was bad, but there was no evidence the men intended to spy. The incident happened in May during an air show at Osan Air Base near Seoul. The U.S. military does not allow certain foreign nationals, including Chinese and Taiwanese, to enter its bases in South Korea, citing security reasons. Russian President Vladimir Putin has hinted that possible Ukraine peace talks with U.S. President Donald Trump could take place. But he expressed reluctance to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Уже говорил неоднократно, что я ничего в целом не имею против, это возможно, но для этого должны быть созданы определенные условия. А вот для создания таких условий, к сожалению, пока легко не.
The Trump-Putin meeting could take place in the United Arab Emirates. Meanwhile, Trump says he's willing to meet with Putin even if the Russian president doesn't speak with Zelensky first. Trump has been ramping up pressure on Moscow to agree to a ceasefire, including resuming advanced weapons shipments to Ukraine and threatening steeper tariffs on Russia's trading partners. Ukraine's president appeared hopeful.
Схоже, Росія тепер більше налаштована на припинення вогню. Тиск на них спрацьовує. Але головне, щоб вони не обманули нас в деталях, ані нас, ані Сполучені Штати.
U.S. analysts estimate that up to 100,000 Ukrainian troops and up to 250,000 Russian troops have been killed since the war began in February 2022. Taiwan will not be invited to this year's Pacific Islands Forum, allegedly due to pressure from China. That decision was announced by the Solomon Islands, the host of the forum, in September. It also said that other donor countries, including the U.S. and China, would be excluded as well. The Solomons switched diplomatic ties from Taiwan to China in 2019. Taiwan's foreign ministry says it had been attending the forum since 1993 and urged it to keep its existing mechanisms. Singapore will soon be marking 60 years of independence, a major milestone for the city-state. And as the country reflects on its rapid rise and looks ahead to its future, our reporter Isabel Wong went there to take a closer look at its ties with Taiwan.
Flags and festive signs line the streets of Singapore, just days before its 60th anniversary. The city-state, once a strong ally of the Republic of China, Taiwan's official name. From 1973 to 1990, Singapore's founding father, Lee Kuan-yew, maintained close ties with several Taiwanese politicians, including former President Jiang Jingguo, and even visited Taiwan more than 25 times. He also opened a door to cross-strait negotiations between Taiwan and the People's Republic of China, or PRC, when Singapore hosted the Guwang talks in 1993.
Lee Kuan Yew used to visit Taiwan quite a bit in his private capacity, and he would meet with Jiang Jingguo. You can actually also see some of the correspondence that the two individuals, as well as some of their family members, had with each other at the Academia Historica in Taiwan.
But since Singapore switched diplomatic recognition to China in 1990, its relations with Taiwan have mainly developed through business ties. And Singapore's dynamic startup environment is attracting interest from Taiwan, especially in areas like chips and AI.
Yeah, especially I think in Taiwan, of course we are the best in semiconductor, and we have a lot of hardware talent. Yeah, and in Singapore, they are more focused on software development, and also they are also emphasized for the AI. So a lot of Taiwanese friends, they tell me they want to come to Singapore because this is a hub to go to international stage. If you want to approach the international company, Singapore is definitely a good place.
And these business exchanges are a two-way street, with Singapore startups also looking towards Taiwan.
We will bring a few of our startups to go to Taiwan, Kaohsiung, or Taipei, and to open some doors opportunity for Singapore startup. Likewise, we are also bringing Taiwanese startup into Singapore because they feel that they want to focus on expansion into Southeast Asia or even Asia Pacific.
Taiwan's new southbound policy aims to boost ties with economies and cultures in Southeast Asia, and Singapore is playing a key role. As a major financial and logistic hub, it's become central to that policy, with Taiwan's government investing more on education exchanges and collaborations on semiconductor supply chains. As Singapore turns 60, its long-standing connections with Taiwan reflect how a partnership can be resilient in a region that is evolving. Howard Zhang, Andy Xue, Isabel Wang in Singapore for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more of our stories. Finally, we leave you with images of 4 Barbary lion cubs playing in their outdoor enclosure at a Czech zoo. It's part of an international program to protect endangered species. I'm Jeremy Olivier. Take care and see you next time.